to wave on. And gentlemen, thank you for being here. You know, I want to congratulate you. You've done something that very few people have been able to do, and that is to bring bipartisanship to Congress. I'm so impressed with the testimony and the questions that have been given here today. They are spot on. Because at the end of the day, we all want the same thing. Whether you're a Republican, whether you're a Democrat, whether you're independent, you want accessible, affordable, quality health care. All of us want that. This is why we're here today. I want to bring it to a more personal note. And the reason I want to do that is because, as you know, I'm a pharmacist, and I practiced pharmacy for over 40 years. And patients come to me. In fact, last week in my office, I had a phone call with the mother of Maddie. Maddie is a 15-year-old from Georgia. Maddie has a rare genetic disorder called spinal variant neurofibromatosis type 1. Tumors grow on every single level of his spine and in his chest wall. This is a picture of Maddie behind me. The family asked that I share this with you. Mr. Joyner, CVS Caremark denied Maddie's access to a life-saving drug, Pulmozyme, that he had been on for 2 years. And he almost died as a result. In fact, he ended up in the hospital. He's still in the hospital. He's back in the hospital for the foreseeable future, and the rest of his life could be impacted because of it. All of a sudden, he'd been getting this drug for 2 years, and CVS Caremark came in and said, "You don't have a diagnosis for it." Can you tell me, what would you say to Maddie's family, Mr. Joyner? What am I supposed to, as a pharmacist, what am I supposed to say to Maddie's family about this?
Obviously, this is a terrible situation, and I certainly feel sorry for the way in which this case has proceeded.
Do you feel like CVS Caremark's providing quality care to Maddie?
I do not know the specifics of this case. I will say that we do follow evidence-based guidelines, and so the goal is to make sure that we are looking at each individual case as it relates to the evidence.
I just want to make sure, Dr. Costner, Dr. Conway, that y'all understand we're talking about real people here. We're not talking about just a business model. Yeah, I was a business owner for 32 years. I own 3 pharmacies, institutional pharmacy, a number of businesses. But we're talking about real people. After all, for 40 years, I was the one who had to go to the counter and tell the patient how much the medicine was. I was the one who watched a senior citizen make a decision between buying groceries and buying medicine. I was the one who watched a mother in tears as she tried to figure out how she was going to pay for the antibiotic. That's why when I got up here 9.5 years ago, the first thing I did was go to the FTC. Will you please look at the vertical integration that exists in the drug pricing change? Finally, 2 years ago, they started doing that. All of you familiar with the 6B study and familiar with the interim report that came out? Mr. Joyner, are you familiar with it? Did you have a chance to read it?
I am familiar, and yes, I have read it.
Dr. Costner?
Congressman,
Are you familiar with the report, and have you read it?
I'm familiar with it, and we strongly disagree with it.
Have you read it?
I have read it.
Okay. Dr. Conway?
Yes.
You have read it, and you're familiar with it.
Yes.
Mr. Joyner, does CVS Caremark in any way steer patients toward their own pharmacy? Yes or no?
So as we mentioned earlier
Yes
today,
or no, do they steer patients toward their
do
own
not-
pharmacy?
We do not steer patients.
Okay,
We
Dr.
provide options
Costner?
to our customers.
Yeah, I will. Okay.
Our clients make their benefit design decisions.
No,
and they
yes
decide
or
on the
no?
network.
No. I'm going to take that as a no. Dr. Conway?
No.
No. Are you familiar with the report saying that there is evidence that the FTC has that the 3 major PBMs in this country, your 3 companies, are steering patients toward their own pharmacy? Are you familiar with that being in the interim report in a 6B study? Mr. Joyner?
I certainly read that, but I do not agree with the
Okay, Dr. Kaufman?
Congressman, the interim report is full of prejudgments. It lacks any economic, empirical, or data analysis.
Are you familiar with what they say?
I'm familiar
and
with what
steering?
they said.
Yes.
We've provided over 3.3 million pages of documents and would employ the FTC to do what they committed to do, which is a wholesome review.
And let
of
me
all of the
assure
data.
you they are doing it. Dr. Conway, are you familiar with it?
Yes, and we.
And you
provide
still
data.
deny it?
and we provide choice to our clients in their pharmacy network design.
Look, guys, you're not talking to somebody who doesn't know what's going on. I signed those contracts with the PBMs. As the owner of Carter's Pharmacy, I know what they say. I know how I'm limited. The first bill I got passed up here was the right for the pharmacist to tell the patient if they paid cash that they didn't have to use, that it would be cheaper than their insurance. Because you had a gag clause in there that said that the pharmacist couldn't tell the patient that it would be cheaper if they paid cash for it. I was able to get legislation passed that changed that. There's only one word I know to describe this, and it's despicable. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Chair now recognizes Mr. Lynch from Massachusetts.